Welcome to Conversations with Cox and Kielseth, and to be more specific, that is filmmaker Alex Cox and myself, film curator Pablo Kielseth. Alex will join us by phone from his home in Oregon, while I sneak away from my office to call him from one of the projection booths used by the International Film Series, which has been screening foreign and independent movies at CU Boulder since 1941. We will keep our chats to about 20 minutes as we discuss whatever movie-related topics grab our fancy. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, action.
Alex, it's good to hear from you. I am curious. I know that I'm going to put the onus of this particular episode on you because I have not had a chance to see the movie in question, which is a documentary called John Lewis Good Trouble. But I assume you have. Is that correct?
Yes, but I think you should watch Beats.
Oh, well, sure. No, I can talk about Beats a little bit, which is this other film that we're showing on the internationalfilmseries.com website. And it's a Scottish movie. It takes place 1994, and it's about the rave culture and how there was a law that was passed in the UK that made it basically illegal to congregate at scenes where there were any music that had repetitive beats playing loudly. And it was a way of...
It was believed that they would do E while they were listening to the repetitive beats. They would wave their hands in the air and do E.
Wow, okay.
Which was MDMA, right? Yeah. And they weren't supposed to do that.
Right. And there was actually a scene early on that reminded me very much of Repo Man because one of our protagonists is he's at a store and he's stocking, he's stocking the canned goods on the shelves. And he's being berated by his supervisor. And so I couldn't help but think that they might have been, doing a little tip of the hat to you, sir, for that scene. But no, it was, it's beautiful black and white cinematography. And even though it's black and white, like in the third act, of course, as soon as everyone's high on, whatever pills are taken, there's some color that gets introduced and it gets very trippy. And it's, but it's inventive and it's fun. The acting is very good, and the subtitles thankfully translated the Scottish...
The patois.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Well, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't realize that. If I'd known they go on a trip and it turns from black and white to color, I definitely would have watched it. But I'll watch it anyway. I'll support the IFS.
Yeah. Again, and people who are just tuning in and wondering what we're talking about, distributors are offering virtual video on demand screenings through independent hubs such as the IFS. And if you go and watch them from our website, they'll split the proceeds with us 50-50. So that's a really good deal for both of us. And for people who
you have like 3 days to watch the film or 5 days or something like that. So you don't have to consume it all at once. Although if it's a really good film, I find I tend to anyway. I watch the thing all in one.
Yeah, and the prices range from $4 to $12. You and I, of course, previously have also discussed certain areas where people can go see free movies. We did that recently with archivemovies.org and the Russian Film Hub site as well.
Oh, both great. And the Russian Film Hub, I mean, the stuff on archive.org, a lot of it is of the quality of Plan 9 from outer space.
Yes, correct.
Whereas the Russian Film Hub stuff is really quality movies,
Yeah, no, I mean, Tarkovsky and all the big hitters and some nice surprises.
Leviathan, Come and See. I mean, there's some big name Russian, Tarkovsky, it's good.
Yeah. So what about the John Lewis Good Trouble? How was that one, sir?
Well, I watched it because I thought I was in trouble as soon as I started watching it.
Uh-oh.
Because it's a CNN Studios in collaboration with Time Studios, in collaboration with the Ford Foundation, and they're making a documentary about another elderly politician, who's really getting on in years. And I'm thinking, oh no, and then who's the first named interview subject that appears in the documentary? Hillary Clinton.
Oh dear.
No.
Yeah. No.
And so and then it gets good because then they start talking about King and Selma. There's some great footage of Martin Luther King and of the police rioting in Selma. And it gets very interesting and very good. And that's the time that Lewis was a young man. He was a protege of Martin Luther King. It's very interesting how King encouraged him to join the movement. But it also it's really a kind of hagiography, not just for John Lewis, who maybe deserves a hagiography, but it's a cynical attempt to kind of inject both the Clintons and Beto O'Rourke and Pelosi, into a film which is supposedly about the black experience, and yet the only people they can find to comment on John Lewis are these white neoliberals and Eric Holder, and so it's kind of, and I know the Squad are in there too, but it's nevertheless, it's a very kind of, uninspiring hagiography until 15 minutes before the end.
I know that you're such an anarchist at heart, and seeing all those corporate logos at the beginning surely must have been off-putting. But I also know that you're a fan of Martin Luther King, so I figured there would be at least something.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Martin Luther King, and I'm a big fan of Jesse Jackson and Barbara Lee. And where were they?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
In this hagiography, why aren't Jesse Jackson or Barbara Lee interviewed? And the reason is, this is what's interesting about the documentary John Lewis, Good Trouble, and why it's actually worth watching, is because 15 minutes before the end, the director kind of snaps. And she says, I can't have this anymore. I've got to just get out of this hagiography. And so she reveals that the reason that John Lewis was on Capitol Hill, quite late in his life, was because he ran a dirty campaign against another black politician called Julian Bond. And Lewis was like shamelessly using the war on drugs against this really respectable, good black politician, Julian Bond. And at one point, John Lewis actually took a drug test and challenged Bond to do the same. And Bond said, I would dignify that kind of pandering with a response. And he lost the election and John Lewis won. And I thought that was fascinating.
That is fascinating.
And it really is, because it makes you've seen the documentary up to almost the end, and all of a sudden something happens that really undercuts everything that's taken place before. Right there, I'm intrigued, and having not seen it, I'm definitely going to check it out and look forward to the last 15 minutes of that. And it's worth watching. I mean, if you're a neoliberal, then you'll be very happy. I mean, if only Tony Blair and Bono were in there too, it would be even better.
Okay,
but it does call into question. It does a little twist at the end and deal with some real issues, which makes it a very interesting piece.
Cool. So I wonder if I can have your permission now to call our friend Barak Epstein at the Texas Theater to merge calls. Would that be all right?
Absolument.
And mind you that while I do this, there's going to be a little pause, because when I'm dialing him, I won't be able to hear you. Okay. So I'm going to call him right now, and we'll be right back in just a moment with the three of us.
Now I can say whatever I want because Pablo's not listening, so I can say all kinds of, really, really outrageous stuff and get the IFS and Pablo into some serious trouble.
Alex.
Hey, how are you?
What's going on? How you doing? Good to hear you.
It's nice to hear your voice, Barak.
So I want to do a little bit of a background for those who are just listening. You're listening to a third person joining us, Barak Epstein, who programs the Texas Theater. Now, could you tell people who might not be familiar with the Texas Theater what makes your location so iconic?
Yeah, so the Texas Theater was built in 1931 in Dallas, Texas. It was originally part of the chain that Howard Hughes owned and operated. It actually became more famous on 11/22/1963 when Lee Harvey Oswald left the grassy knoll and snuck into the Texas Theater to watch 20 minutes of a movie called War is Hell before he was apprehended by the Dallas police.
Do you know where he sat in the theater?
We do know where Lee Harvey sat. He sat third row from the back. He was in the fifth seat, and then he moved over to the second seat where he got into a fight with the Dallas police officer. He actually tried to fire his weapon, and his gun jammed. So luckily, no weapons were discharged at the theater, and they were able to get him out. A lot has been written and said, and conspiracies and non-conspiracies in real life and other things about what could have happened that day. One of the things that's interesting is the timing from when Lee Harvey Oswald left downtown to when he entered the house that he lived at a few blocks away from the Texas Theater, and then when he left that house and went to an intersection at 10th and Patton, where he met Officer Tippit, where he allegedly met Officer Tippit, who he was actually only charged with the shooting and killing of Officer Tippit. They never got to the police charge. But when Alex was in Dallas about 9 years ago to show some of his work at the Texas Theater, Alex said he knows a lot about this, and he wanted to make sure if that story about the timing was accurate. So I filmed Alex walking from the boarding house to 10th and Patton, and then from 10th and Patton to the Texas Theater. Alex, do you remember the timing on that?
Yes, I mean, I don't remember what our timing was, but I know there was a dispute among people who had researched the subject as to whether Oswald could have made it walking from the rooming house to the Tippit murder scene, or whether he would have had to have a ride. And we found out, well, you already knew because you'd already done it, but I found out that day, yes, in fact, Oswald, he could just have made it to the murder scene within the time frame allowed, right?
I don't just do that walk every day, So I've only done it that one day with you.
Oh, I thought you'd done it before. I thought you'd done it one time before.
No, you were the first person that was like, it's 10 minutes. Can he do it in 10 minutes? And you were like, we're going to do a brisk walk. I remember you saying like a brisk.
Yeah. Oh, and I found the video. I'll send it to you.
Oh, great.
I found it on a hard drive, so I can send it to you.
I would love it.
We go all the way from there to the Texas Theater and into the lobby of the theater.
Yes. I would love it. And anyway, so obviously Pablo, Texas Theater was famous for that, and they did a massive renovation the year after that, I guess to rebrand it, and it had this whole stucco redesign. It closed in 1989. In 1990, they actually shot part of Oliver Stone's JFK at the Texas Theater. The scenes that take place exterior of the Texas Theater were actually the actual location. Closed through most of the 90s, and then it saved in the early 2000s. And me and my group came in 2010 to restart it as an independent cinema and event space. And
do you still sell T-shirts with or Oswald's face that say the Texas Theater?
We do, and see, it's an arrest photo. So people are saying, how are you glorifying this person? But we're saying we're not necessarily glorifying this person. We are acknowledging history. The Texas Theater was where the guy was captured. So I want
to add a plug for your T-shirt. I don't know if you're still having it made by the same people, but I've got one of those shirts, and it is the softest T-shirt. It makes a perfect eye rack. Like I like to sleep and have something cover my eyes, but I need to have it be a super soft T-shirt. I've got two shirts. One's an old Rolling Stones concert T-shirt that I had since I was in junior high, and it's got holes, but it is so soft. And the other one is Oswald, the Texas Theater T-shirt. That is super soft.
Well, my people in Dallas, Jason Reimer, who designed it, and Pan Ector in Denton, who printed that, would love to hear that. So thanks, Pablo.
Well, okay. So the other thing that I want to mention that is a cool connection, because not only does Alex know a lot about the Oswald Kennedy thing. I mean, obviously, Alex wrote
I'm the author of a book, in fact, called The President and the Provocateur.
Yes,
purchased from Oldcastle Books.
A fascinating book.
What's the publisher called in the U.S.? Feral House. Fantastic publishing house.
Yeah, and House.
Sorry, you were saying?
A very interesting read. Definitely would highly recommend that book for anyone who wants to know more about that. But also, you, Alex, and you, Barak, just worked together to do something, and it involves a double feature of Alex's films, which can be seen at your site. Barak, so do you want to talk a little bit about, first maybe repeat where your website is, and then let's get some, and I want to mention that from our last podcast, I want to give a shout out to Jerry and Omar, who actually let me know that we had a little technical problem, which we then fixed. And they were two people who snapped up 2 of the free codes that you offered up to us to give out. But I understand that you have more free codes to also give out. So why don't you give a little background as to your website and what you're plugging there?
Yeah. So if you go to thetexastheater.com or texastheater.com, RE is how we spell it. But that's where our virtual cinema program is. We worked with the good folks at Kino Lorber to present 2 of Alex's films for the price of one. It's Highway Patrolman, the restoration of Highway Patrolman, and the restoration of Straight to Hell, which is Straight to Hell Returns. It also includes the video conversation interview that I did with Alex a couple months ago, right after quarantine hit. Nice. So that's part of the program as well. And then also, if you go to that link and you click that and you watch all those and you want more, we actually worked with Film Movement to do one of Alex's picks. We have Sergio Corbucci's The Great Silence on there.
Excellent!
Big fans of the, yes, that's a great Western, spaghetti Western.
As a companion piece.
It is a great film.
So it's great stuff, and you can watch it. But also, we have some codes. So anybody who's listening tonight, if you want one, you can message Pablo, and we can get you a code. Also, separately, Pablo, I want to let you know, Kino did say that they would make this a program available to other theaters, other virtually. Wonderful. So you guys could add it to the International Film Series if you like.
We absolutely will. Absolutely will. And let's make sure that our buddies, we just talked to Toby, so let's make sure that this is playing in Nashville as well, right?
Yeah, because maybe the Loft can do it too. I talked to Jeff at the Loft about it, and he was interested.
Oh, good. And also Dan at the Hollywood told me he was going to do it.
Excellent.
Great. Fantastic.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Oh, and so normally we try to keep our podcast to about 20 minutes, which is kind of where we're at right now. But we're going to do a little bonus section right now where we are going to talk about the drive-in cinema scene that is by necessity popping up, and is popping up in different forms. I just had a recent experience here at Boulder where my friends over at the Boulder International Film Festival have been coordinating outdoor screenings at the Boulder Airport. Beautiful location with a nice mountain backdrop and inflatable screen. And then they had 175 cars. That's a sold out performance. They've been selling it out within 2 hours. There's a hunger for these things. It's the safest way to still be able to do sort of a social thing. I was actually the knucklehead who got so carried away just in the comfort of my car watching a movie under the stars. And I had a sunroof that I opened up and I could see the moon through the sunroof. I had this amazing sound system in the car. I was so comfortable. And then an hour into the movie, it cut out. But because I'd read the instructions, I'd heard that you should bring a backup radio just to be safe. So I had the backup radio and I listened to the rest of the movie in the car just fine. But the reason that the sound cut out was because my car battery went dead. But they had done, but the Beck sisters were so good about doing all their homework about like all the things that might go wrong. And they were there to assist with jumper cables. And I got out just fine. And it was easy peasy. People came in clean. People didn't leave any garbage. And it was all very nicely self-contained and a beautiful setting. So a remarkably magical, great experience. And I know that, Barak, you've got something going. You've got something in the works and things happening in Texas as well, right?
Well, yeah, because, obviously, just like you guys, we've been doing the virtual cinema thing because the Texas theater has been closed since middle of March. And we were going to plan to try to do some sort of reopening in July. We had worked on it, and the industry seemed like it was ready to come back. But as of the past 10 days, getting worse and worse every day.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Texas is in a bad shape right now. So we have scrapped the reopening plans for now, but we have I hate to use the P word that everybody's using, but we swiveled that. People are saying pivot. I'm just saying swivel. So we swiveled again. And now we're like, hey, we got a parking lot sort of. So we are going to set up a screen back there. I got a radio transmitter. I got a DCP projector we can move around. So we're going to start showing movies behind the Texas theater next to the dumpster. So we have a place to put our trash. And
Repo Man, you got to show Repo Man next to the dumpster, man.
and maybe we will add a screening of Repo Man. I don't know. We'll see. It's a good idea. Our
perfect location.
Indeed. Our first screening, though, is going to be They Live. So we can have
great.
Big fans of They Live. Yes.
We're going to have.
We're big fans.
Such a great movie. Yeah.
And it's kind of in an alley, so maybe there can be a recondition of the alley fight.
I have to tell you, having read one of, I know that Alex has got lots of different versions of the script out there, but he's got one script out there for the sequel to Repo Man, and I don't want to give anything away, but having a dumpster next to you would be perfect for They Live and for that particular ending if he keeps it.
Oh wow!
It's very a dumpster is very significant in the finale.
Well,
no, Barak actually put me in touch with a potential investor for Repo Man 2. So you never know. I mean, we could be in that dumpster yet.
There you go. You got to come shoot it in Dallas if that happens, though.
That's right. Now you know the perfect location for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both so much for joining for this. It actually it was really nice to have a fresh voice, Barak, and thanks for making those free codes available.
Yeah,
Alex, thank you for directing the movies that we still are enjoying so many years later. And I mean, honestly, it's both Highway Patrolman. When I first saw it, I had to watch. I had to scour.
VHS on VHS, right? In a bin.
And here it is, beautiful new 4K digital restoration, and it's a wonderful, absolute great movie, and you can see it for free with some codes that Barak can provide. So drop us a line, and we'll do this again next week. And Barak, it was a pleasure to have you. So hopefully you'll join us again at some point.
Pablo, thank you. And thank Barak too. Thank you both for being such great exhibitors and for keeping independent cinema alive.
Well, it's
in these troubled times.
And these troubled times we still require an audience. So if you're listening, know that every little bit helps. So it really makes a difference. And sometimes it might even just be even though it's like a $4 rental and it's only $2 coming our way, it's a sign that lets us know that we can hopefully keep things together until we can once again invite people back into our normal brick and mortar venues, our historic venues in the case of Barak's, Texas theater, or in the case of me, it's like a nice 400-seat theater where you can really watch a movie on a big screen quietly with no concessions. We've all got different things kind of going for us, and we're trying to keep the vibe alive. So do check out the websites and rent a movie and know you're doing good. So thanks, gentlemen. We'll talk more next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cut. Okay, that's a wrap.
Thanks again for joining Alex Cox and myself today. I'd like to thank Jason Phelps for handling the audio and Ted Thacker for letting us use the intro to his song, The Ballad of Slim Cessna, for the musical cues that bookend these conversations.